Welcome to your friendly neighborhood historian, where we discuss just enough history to inform, intrigue, and entertain. I'm Bill Petro. The history of Easter, the historical climate. As Passion Week begins this weekend, what was the historical climate of Easter week almost 2,000 years ago, surrounding the last week of the life of Jesus of Nazareth? All men die. Jesus was a man destined to die, not merely in the conventional sense, but in a distinct and particular manner. Jesus entered Jerusalem amidst a tumultuous environment, characterized by religious, political, military, social, and economic upheaval. At that time, the events in ancient Israel were rarely linked to the larger context that controlled the province, the Roman Empire. Nevertheless, Jesus' career culminated in a tale of two cities, Jerusalem and Rome. The political and military might of Rome had an impact on the culture and legal system in Jerusalem. In this series on Easter, we'll discuss Palm Sunday. What was the political and cultural climate of the city when Jesus entered it? The trial, or the trials. What occurred during each one of them, and what Roman and Jewish laws were involved? The crucifixion. What took place on Good Friday? The resurrection. What do we know about it from the sources? Our story begins during the last week of March, AD 33, when the relationship between the Jews and Rome was already 100 years old. In 63 BC, a dispute arose between two factions of the high priestly family. One of those factions appealed to Rome for assistance. While in the midst of reorganizing the eastern part of the Roman Empire, General Pompey arrived in Israel from Damascus and settled the dispute by making Judea a Roman client kingdom. Herod the Great was appointed king over the territory. Remember him from the Christmas story? He was made a client king to Rome. The kingdom was divided on his death into 4 tetrarchies when he died in 4 BC. 2 of his sons were Herod Antipas, who we'll meet later. He was given Galilee and Perea up in the north. Archelaus received Judea, Idumea, and Samaria, which he ruled so poorly that he was banished and replaced by a succession of Roman governors or prefects. Judea was neither one of the more important nor more illustrious provinces. Therefore, it was not ruled over by a member of the nobler senatorial class of Romans. Instead, a member of the equestrian class. Equus equals horse, so this is Latin for knight or official. The equestrian class was the middle class that constituted a significant part of the Roman administrative bureaucracy and military. The 6th of these governors was Pontius Pilate. At that time, there was a great messianic anticipation. For centuries, the Jewish people had long anticipated the arrival of a Messiah, the anointed one of God, who would ascend the throne of King David and liberate them from their oppressors. This expectation permeated the entirety of the Hebrew Bible, with numerous themes interwoven within its narrative for this Messiah. First, he would be God's vice-regent on earth. He'd be an eternal ruler. He'd be the Son of God, a deliverer from political oppression, and a suffering servant who would deliver the people from their sins. But how would he appear? Between the Old and New Testaments, which is about 400 BC to AD 65, a large amount of non-biblical literature surfaced called apocryphal and apocalyptic literature, repeating and embellishing the concept of the Messiah. Much of this was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls and other pseudepigraphical literature written during the intertestamental period. Pseudepigrapha are falsely attributed documents that claim authorship by Adam and Eve, Abraham, Enoch, Elijah, Job, Solomon, to imbue authority to those writings. These writings depict the Messiah as son of King David, son of man, a battling warrior, God's agent for cleansing Israel, provider of nourishment, a healer, the Holy One, and the raiser of the dead. The historical meaning of Messiah. The Greek word for the Hebrew word Messiah is Christos, or anointed one, from which we get the word Christ. This means that Christ was not Jesus' last name, but rather a title, Jesus the Christ. Before the Romans, the Jewish people had suffered under several occupying oppressors, most recently the Greek successors to Alexander the Great's generals, and before that, the Medo-Persians, the Babylonians, and the Assyrians. After almost 100 years under the Romans, the expectation for the Messiah had reached nearly a fever pitch. This was the condition when Jesus entered Jerusalem on Palm Sunday. Thank you for listening. I'm Bill Petro, your friendly neighborhood historian. You can find more details on this topic and others on my website at billpetro.com.